He is among the most respected voices in New England baseball. Dozens of Kirk's players have realized the dream of competing at the collegiate and professional baseball levels. Kirk's on-field achievements are matched by the enormous contributions he has made to high school baseball in Massachusetts. A longtime member of the MBCA, Coach Fredericks has served as vice president and president of the organization's executive board. He has worked tirelessly to improve the game for everyone. Beyond being an invaluable, available source of information and support to coaching colleagues, Kirk Fredericks has been a creative voice in helping guide change within the MIAA. Perhaps his most notable contribution was the design and establishment of the Super 8 baseball tournament. His vision and persistence led to a format widely lauded as a premier showcase of Massachusetts high school baseball. Kirk Fredericks has earned the admiration of players, assistant coaches, and opponents alike. He's a true teacher of the game and a coach who combined passion, discipline, character in establishing one of the most successful programs in the history of Massachusetts high school baseball. We are pleased to welcome Kirk Fredericks for induction into the MBCA Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Executive Board, for thinking of me. Congrats to Charlie. I know Charlie came down when we started the Super 8. He was one of the few people who came down to CM that day to talk about the Super 8 and give his ideas. So congratulations to Charlie. Steve, I don't really know. However, I do know the two Freds that were before you, and know them well, and they were good friends to my father. And then Obi's been on the board for years, and is a very funny guy, so I look forward to listening to him as well. I said that because he gave me 7 minutes, which I'm going to need. Family. My wife is very supportive. Christy is here tonight. Getting away from coaching, and feeling that not being all that important anymore. I was listening and watching football one day and saw that Nick Saban started calling his wife Miss Terry. So in order to feel a little more important, I figured I'd try it in Natick. And so for the last month, Christy has been Miss Christy. She said when tonight is over, I need to stop that. But there she is. She drove here from Foxwoods tonight with my daughter Molly, who's at a dance competition. So. But I want to thank her because every night allowed me to coach was her at home with the kids. Also, Reese is my daughter who's over there. And as any teenager, very embarrassed and didn't want to walk in with us. But I appreciate her as well, along with the twins, Ryan and Tyler. It bothered me a lot not coaching recently, thinking about this award, that I haven't had the opportunity to present them with what my father provided for me when I was younger. And then I realized that I've had the advantage of having someone else that has provided that. And sometimes I think you need that in today's world. And so I want to thank Coach Maggs for that. And Coach Maggs has allowed my daughters to go to and be part of his team. And of course, he's also taught me to cry. But be part of his team, his basketball team, be in the room, listen, be a part of the girls, which was a really big part. Anyone involved with sports knows that when your kids are part of a team, it's something special. And he's taking that to another level this year when he's allowed the boys to practice with the 16 and 17-year-old girls, and they're great with them. And every week they choose, instead of going to the Wellesley boys games or the Needham boys games or Braintree boys games, they want to go to the Wellesley girls games. This honor has allowed me to reflect on baseball and how important in my life it is and the connections and the life lessons. From being 12 years old in the Williamsport tournament, making the error that cost our team in Stoughton the game, and crying and crying and crying, to the next year being in the state championship with my father coaching us in Burlington, to going to Stoughton High School as a 15-year-old and being pulled up to the JVs and making 20 errors and batting 150 and never wanting to play baseball again, to the following year transferring to Braintree High School to play for an old-time coach, and instead now making the Bay State Conference All-Star team a year later and doing really well. To Legion World Series, to state championships in Legions, to fog games, to being a hotshot Globe Herald All-Scholastic, walking into a Division II college thinking I was going to be a hero, and being told by the coach that, you know what, do you want to play on the JV team or do you want to sit on the bench? And because we were so good, and so I chose to play, and he said, I think I want you to, I chose to be on the bench so I could be with the varsity. And he said, no, I want you to play. And I got a chance to do that, and then the next year, pushing ourselves to the College World Series. And then playing in the College World Series, making the error in the 12th inning that cost us to go home. So the ride of baseball has been good to me. It's taught me a lot of lessons, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Knock you down, bounce back up, figure it out, find a way. Ryan and Tyler today asked me at the basketball game, Tyler's like, nothing's working. We're stealing the ball. Ryan's like, how do I score more? And I'm like, same thing, figure it out, find a way. And I guarantee you they will. Frank Carey, who we know as the godfather of Mass High School baseball. Well, my father also has a title, even though I just gave it to him. Don Fredericks is the grandfather of Massachusetts high school baseball. My kids have no idea about him. They have no idea about me. So maybe they've learned a little bit from talking to my LS crew that's over there. But I've followed in his footsteps my entire life. Starting with playing baseball, coaching baseball, being involved with the MIAA, being a past president here for the MBCA, to being a dad of baseball players, to now the Hall of Fame. Memories. Being in the backyard in Stoughton, playing catch with him, and hearing, "Go get it. You threw it." Infield, outfield. You know, hit and run. If anyone's ever watched him hit infield, outfield. And I got a text from someone today about how my team was the best infield, outfield ever. Well, it was stolen. And, you know, he'd hit those balls, and you always caught them, because if you missed it, he took 2 steps closer to you. And, you know, I learned from going to all these national clinics, you're supposed to hit easy ground balls, you get confidence in play. And that wasn't his philosophy. It was a rocket after rocket. And as you missed, he got closer. And as you missed, he got closer. And as you missed, he got closer. And so to remember that, mound visits after an error. The pitchers always loved it. I'd be sitting at third base, he'd walk out, wouldn't look at the pitcher one time, he'd be staring right at me, calmly dissecting my lack of fortitude on the last play. So my boys understand what Grampy meant. He basically said I had no balls. And he'd continue and continue. And then when he'd walk away, Stephen Marciano from Brockton, of the famous family who was on third, would say, "Man, your coach is tough." And I remember saying to him, "Yeah, try living with him." Being a 7-year-old attending Legion games, leaving at 3 o'clock, banging in the bases because diamond bases weren't a thing, catching balls from the third baseman coming across, hoping that they overthrow me because it hurt so hard. Learning the game while watching every move, learning what high schoolers do from listening to the kids on the benches, as they tested me to see if I'd go home and tell coach as a 7-year-old. After the game was over, which started at 7 after being there for 4 hours, going to Adams Field because the game started later, watching Wollaston, Morissette, Quincy, whoever was playing. And then after that game, going over to Holbrook because they started at 8:45 or 9 o'clock, then going to the Sons of Italy or the ground round. Whatever it was, I'd be home at 11:30. And I loved every minute of it. Miss Christie, could you imagine if I asked you to do that? My mother, who can't be here today, she's at home, 4 kids. I have 4 kids. I also followed in her footsteps. But unlike dads, I've never ever come close to catching up. Keith, Kyle, Kerry, my siblings, I appreciate your support and everything I've always done. I couldn't have done this without you. 7 years left of teaching. Braintree Legion, coming out of college, 21 years old, doing 8 years for free, not getting paid, driving up 128, loved every minute of it, being there all day. I thank Dan Fabrizio for giving me that opportunity, racing from LS to Legion every night. Okay, learning great people like Ralph White, who I believe passed away yesterday from Walpole. Legion, that's back when everyone played Legion. Legion was great. As far as the best ADs, as a baseball coach, I haven't had the chance to work for Mr. Brown. But as a colleague, I've gone to a couple clinics and other places with him. Missed playing for him in Stoughton by 1 year. But ADs, I had the best ADs. Ted Tripp from Wellesley, Pete Foley at Weston, and Nancy O at LS. Female AD who was more than I could ever imagine having. I can't imagine there being another AD out there better than her. You know, I got the chance at Weston to work with Coach Bev, help bring him onto this board here. I'd love to thank him as well. I remember when he was my JV coach, he had moved here from Chicago, and I turned to him like, hey, will you run the same first and third plays as we're running here? And I remember him going, have you seen us practice? Mina, every time someone throws Mina the ball, he runs the other way yelling, no, no, no. Al Fortiani, over here, my assistant coach, JV coach, his love of the game, teaching the game. There aren't much better. He could work with a 5-year-old as well as he works with a 20-year-old. He just cared so much. He's so good at what he did, turned the hitting over to him, and didn't look back. As a baseball person, and I've thought this for years, there isn't someone I think more of that compares to my father as Coach Al does. And that's partly because of those things I just said, and it's partly because they both mow the lawn in their baseball game. Coach Frida, whether it was Morangi, whether it was Coach Sim, the assistants I had would travel like a good friend who came here from Newtown, Connecticut tonight with his wife. Coach Frida would come, 60, 90 minutes every day as a police officer up in New Hampshire, practice our kids, and then go home. Coach Sim would come from Stoughton, where he's teaching, to LS, and then he would go to Bill Ricker at his home. These guys were dedicated. I delegated, at least I think I did, to them to do things instead of taking it all on my own, and I appreciate them more than I could ever imagine. After LS, Coach Kane from Wellesley, unbelievable. Where most people would think, I teach in Wellesley, he just wants the job. Well, I got an opportunity to work with him in the summer. And as a matter of fact, working for the Roughnecks, we used to argue on who the head coach was going to be and the assistant, because we both wanted to be the assistant. But he brought me in after leaving LS, which is a great bridge to being a family man, and he allowed me to practice the team every day as if it was my program. And he coached the team in the games every day because it was his program. Not many people would have done that. It was awesome. And I could sit there and all the stories the LS kids are telling are all the same stories that Coach Kane, myself, Jay Driver could tell that went on in those years. I think one of the reasons he might have done it is because I saved his life in Alabama. So at Roughnecks, we were losing by a lot of runs, and for some reason, he's great at stealing signs. He stole the other team's signs. The next thing you know, we won by 10 runs. And poor Larry Thomas, who pitched for the White Sox, finally realized that and threw the line, grabbed him, and almost killed him. Whatever the motivation was, I appreciate it, Coach. Matt Blake, the Yankees sent him here today, but he was our pitching guy. Came in through Cressy, met with him. He took over everything that we were doing. Went to Roughnecks, was able to develop his own things. Took off. We grew together. I watched him blossom. The only thing I question is why he didn't take me with him. But that's fine. The number of Yankee games we've gone to, that's kind of made up for it. My family has gone from being Pedro, Roger Clemens, David Ortiz, to Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole fans. And even though Matt said that I can't sit near the dugout, he has told me that Booney and I have one common thing. And that's when his pitchers give up a hit, we both would look at him and go, why a fastball? He helped my kids love baseball. I tried and tried, my kids didn't want anything to do with it. And all of a sudden he becomes the Yankees coach and now they love baseball. So we'll take it. And Reese is still mad that you didn't get her a picture with Aaron Judge or a signed uniform of Aaron Judge. Finally, and this is for my LS crew. My LS kids played so hard. They played injured, dedicated, they'd run through a wall for me. Sorry, I do that all the time. The principal gets so mad at me. And it's just a wow. To have a group of people year after year be able to do that. So a couple thoughts. Brian Mahoney's here. And one day of practice, I know we just talked about this, he showed up and wore a 5-year-old's pink jacket. And all through practice was sweating bullets. And I just remember saying, if you're gonna wear it, you gotta wear it the whole time. And it's memories like these that have come back to me when I got this email about this award. Or things like Sam Finn getting cut as a freshman, being the last player on the JV team as a sophomore, being a pitcher only as a junior, at that same junior year slated to pitch in the North Finals, being late for a walkthrough and getting scratched, to motivating himself to being MVP of the league his senior year. Things like, memories like the North Finals in 2005, being up 5-4 versus Woburn, chance to advance, and their best player named Bishop, coming up to the plate with bases loaded, and you bring in a soft throwing left-hander named Bradford, who has only pitched one inning all year, and the next thing you know, triple play, line drive to short, step on second, go throw to first. Things like you're getting ready for the state championship, and Jack Lorendo and Matt Miller are standing around warming up, and Jack is crying, and you're like, what? You're all nervous. Well, Jack has already just tore his shoulder up, but he told me he's going to play in the championship anyway, so I wasn't worried about it. Well, now I was worried about it, and I've come to find out the reason he was so upset. It was the first time since 12 years old that he hadn't played catch before a game with his buddy Matt Miller. Things like Chris Nelson, our shortstop against Brighton, second and third, nobody out. Our pitcher Adam Cole throwing 90, he's now throwing 80 because it's 100 degrees. They had hit a ball off the left field fence to make it second and third, and Chris keeps the ball, runs hidden ball. Our kids are so fired up. Next pitch is hitting to the stands. Andy Skelton dives in, catches the next pitch. Adam throws 100 miles an hour, and we're out of the inning, and life is good. Things like Little Freddie, Billy B in the back. I found out from his mom that everyone on our team called him Little Freddie. His senior year, he's so fired up, so mad at the juniors, so much talent. we should win the national championship. Every day he'd come fired up, mad, and I kept telling him that he's brought our kids along so far that he is going to be the reason that we win a state championship next year. Those kids don't realize it now, but you've created that. And sure enough, that next year we win a state championship. Well, Billy B is the type of kid that I want my sons to follow. Started out as a 9-hitter, moved to a leadoff hitter, and eventually wanted to play Division I baseball. Played, became an All-American his freshman year, and then was a Dodger. Kevin Hannigan took on a role on our team, a role where he's not playing much. And we always kept 20, 24 players, and he took on a role and helped us all the time. I wouldn't trade it for anyone. I was so excited when we decided to keep him, and the kids decided to make sure we kept him. Winning a state championship and having him sing Shania Twain, man, I feel like a woman on the bus back. You know, Carl Anderson, Dan Salucci, batting 600 for high school season. I've never seen it before. And when they were batting 600 every single time they hit the ball, the base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit. You know, I always thought 400 was impressive, but just having those type of years that they had. Tommy Novick, who's here, you know, turning to him saying, listen, you're 6'2", but you only throw 68 miles an hour. Do you want to pitch or do you want to go swim? And he said, I want to pitch. Because he was a hell of a swimmer. And he trusted me after sitting in, you know, some of the Roughnecks and watching South Carolina have kids throw underhand. We made him a sidearm underhand kid. And he took it and ran with it. The trust that they put in me. And 2007 versus Concord Carlisle, it was the first time I've ever been able to do this. I was always a hands-on coach, and I remember sitting against the fence, and I didn't have to say one word the entire game. Everything we practiced, they were doing. Whether it was Stevie Wilson or the players in the field, on the bases, you name it, and I didn't say one thing. And we had injuries. I remember our Chris Williamson, our backup catcher, came in and batted like 500 for the week. And we had people like Drew Mullaney fill in the field where he was usually a DH, and he'd make every play. People like Mikey Wilson. I'd walk off to finally say something because we had a freshman out there and he messed something up. And before I could get to him to give him information, Mikey'd be like, Coach. He just put his hand up. I turned around and I'd walk back. And that was the type of group that we had. I didn't have to do anything, and much appreciated. And last but not least, and I think it's because it was one of the last memories of our state championship. I remember in 2011, we faced Boston Latin and Packy Naughton, who is pitching professionally right now. He was a freshman, and there was no doubt that we were going to beat him. And if we beat them, we were playing St. John's Prep. And Patrick Connaughton was going to pitch for them, who is playing in the MBCA now. And also got drafted. And I remember after we won, I turned to the team and I said, do you want the good news or the bad news? And we talked about it, and I said, we're going to beat St. John's Prep, and you're going to beat Connaughton. But here's the problem. We need 3 days to do it, and we have 2. And so they looked at me, and I looked at them, and I grabbed the pitching machine, which I put behind the dugout, and we put it on the field. We set it for 190, whatever it was. We all took our licks, swung and missed for half an hour, and then the next day I called in reinforcements. I called in people like Frida, all my former assistants. We lined up 7 L screens. We all just took buckets of balls, stood 10 feet from people, and we threw the ball 100 miles an hour. And we trained them for the next 2 days. And sure enough, we showed up I did have surgery, but we showed up that day, and that first inning, when every kid from the first batter to the 9th batter was hitting rockets off 90 miles an hour, they were shell-shocked. And people like Michael Barry, who was our catcher, hitting rockets, I'll just never forget that. My players were so loyal to me from the start to the end, and people like Holes and Galland, Free Freddy t-shirts. Thank you.